Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here. Welcome to another episode of HourTime Experiments. I'm here with David Bredan. Say hello, David.
Hey everyone.
Oh, he's excited, isn't he?
Yes.
So there should be a Rolex on your screen. Oh, David, I forgot to screen share with you. How could you let this happen? We haven't done an HourTime Experiments in a couple of days now. But we want to get a little bit more regular with these. David, do you see this attractive, very rare Rolex that you found in Hungary? Where'd you find this watch?
Yes, I see it right here. Well, it's available at the Rolex authorized dealer here in Budapest. So I paid him a visit, and he kindly asked one of his colleagues, to take out the green watch. And
the green watch.
Yes, and that's how it was revealed in front of me.
So many emeralds.
Yes.
We knew that the audience would hate this thing, right? Like we knew that they would be like, "What is this?" But why do we love this?
Well, I think it's just a typical Rolex thing in the sense that if you like watches a lot, I think. Well, speaking for myself, for example. I know that I was into watches for years before I started to really appreciate Rolex for what it is and what they do and how they do it. So
I totally agree. I mean, yeah, like I would say that 10 years ago, if I saw this thing, I would have had no interest. Not no interest. I would appreciate it, like the value. If you would have told me it's like 430,000 euros, I'd been like, oh, that's interesting. But I wouldn't have been like, wow, that's a great watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. And now, when you see it hands on, also I think we have seen our fair share of blinked out watches, so to speak. I mean, this is next level in every way, and it's really difficult to appreciate a level of perfection, of this kind when you really have to look super close. And I was looking at this watch for like at least, I don't know, like maybe 2 hours or more, and
I can just imagine you staring at it, not moving,
just taking pictures and talking about it.
Sir?
Like,
you're drooling on the watch, sir.
The first 20 minutes is just looking at it, just trying to take it all in. It's like really difficult to digest this visual.
Okay, so let's try to explain what this watch is. Okay, so first of all, in 2015, Rolex came out with a new version of the Day-Date called the Day-Date 40, which is one of the best watches they've ever made, in my opinion. And that is the president. So the Day-Date is the president, and this had a new movement, a new case, a new bracelet, pretty much everything. And then this year, they came out with the Datejust 41, which is sort of the Datejust version of that. So it's a millimeter larger, similar case, of course, slightly different movement because it doesn't have the day of the week. And the Datejust 41 came out two-tone. So the Day-Date, the president, only comes in precious metals, right? Like you can't get steel, you can't get two-tone. It only comes in precious metal, and this is the platinum one. And one of the things I think is interesting for people to look at, there's a picture here of the crown, and you can see there's the Rolex, the crown on the crown, and then there's this little dot underneath the crown. And the number of dots actually represent the material that the case is in. This is something I didn't know. Rolex had to tell me. So this has one little dot right there, which means it's platinum. If it's 2, it's gold, and if it's 3, it's steel. That's correct, right?
I think, I seem to remember sometimes they used to use like a dash or something underneath there. I'm not sure.
Oh, right. There's some that has like a little dash underneath. Yeah, there's a couple little icons here, but let's just say that the 1 means platinum. I think that's pretty clear. Oh, yeah, you even in the comment you wrote that.
Yeah, exactly.
I went a couple of years ago when I went to visit Rolex's headquarters to the gem setting department. And look, let's be honest, as guys, how excited are we normally about gems? Not like that impressed because it doesn't do anything, right? It's pretty, it's valuable, but it doesn't have functional value. But what really impressed me was just like the insane amount of effort that Rolex put into this. And I want to show you a couple things that just to help you appreciate gem set watches. Doesn't mean you have to like them anymore, but first of all, emeralds do not all come in the same color, right? So if you see here, these emeralds are really about the same color. So Rolex first has to get a bunch of stones to make sure that they match. And color matching the stones is hard and takes time. Because you not only have to have them match, but you have to find them, and you have to find the ones that are the right size and cut them. So this has emeralds all around the bezel. These are all hand set, and of course then you have on the dial, you have some emerald hour markers, large baguette ones, baguette diamond hour markers, and then diamond set all over the dial. And these are all done by hand. There's no machines that do this. This is done one at a time. I mean, it can take a long time. This bezel to find all these stones. That's one of the reasons it's so rare. It's not just sheer value. It's the fact that these deep color green emeralds of this clarity, they're extremely clear, extremely good stones. This is just something that takes time and effort and is very expensive. And so that's, in my opinion, one of the reasons that this watch costs so much. Chances are that the individual who ends up owning a watch like this may not know that much about it. They could. It's possible. But they may not know that much. You have to be really into Rolex to even know that the president only comes in platinum, right? And that this isn't white gold. I like that they have the black on the hands. So there's no lume on this of any kind, but the hands have black where the lume normally would be to emphasize legibility. So there's a lot of ergonomics in this. It's wearable. Like, this is the most expensive watch I know of that you could easily wear on a daily basis. Like, literally go swimming with. Like, nothing is going to happen to the watch. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, not that you should, but you could. Yes, that's true.
Not that you should?
I mean, I wouldn't go swimming in this. I would totally wear this watch. And I saw all the comments and everything, but I still maintain, I think that this is a watch that I could totally wear, like,
do the comments affect you? Do they bother you, David?
Not at all. No, that's not true. But you mentioned that the president only comes in platinum, but it also comes in white gold, actually. But you
I'm sorry. What I meant was only precious metals, so only platinum and gold.
Yes, that's right. So yeah, I think this is an amazing watch altogether. And what I found really interesting here, and that's something that we should talk about, I think, is how this watch is actually based on the Day-Date 40, so much so that the only different thing is technically the bezel, the dial, and the date discs, and that's it. Underneath it is technically just a platinum Day-Date 40. The case, the bezel, the case, the bracelet, the crown, the movement inside, everything is entirely unchanged.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, and there are platinum versions of the Day-Date 40. This isn't the first one. They debuted a platinum version.
Yes.
I think it had the smooth bezel, right?
Yes, it did. Yes, for platinum, yes. But the interesting thing here is it's really technically just these things. And when you look at other brands who may have, let's say, a $10, $30, $50,000 watch, like I think the Day-Date 40 ranges from something around the mid-20s all the way to like much higher than that for platinum. But still, if a watch brand debuts something for 430,000 euros, they are going to change the movement, the finishing on there, and stuff like that. But here, none of that actually happens. It's technically
let me ask you, is there a more accurate watch for 430,000 euros?
I don't think that if you can get some of the Grubel Force, I'm not sure if you can get a Grubel Force for that much. I think a Grubel Force comes close.
You think that Grubel Force is going to be that accurate?
Yes.
Plus 2, minus 2?
Yes. Actually, okay. About +1 or something like that, I was told, and I can totally believe that. But I'm not sure if they come at this affordable a price at around 430. They oftentimes more than that.
86 comments.
Oh.
Not. It's funny. I have a feeling that if this watch costs maybe $90,000, all these people talking about vulgarity and classlessness their comments would go away. Like, I don't agree. I don't agree that these people really don't like this watch. I just don't agree with them. I think that if you just put the watch in front of them, they would be impressed with it. Like, I think people are angry at expensive stuff.
Yes, I think that happens. And also the fact that they cannot really imagine, like, what these things actually look like in real life. That's the problem. I mean, we try really hard with our photography, and I think that helps a lot. But at the same time, it's extremely difficult to capture these things in photography.
Yeah, but look at this guy. This guy's getting upset about the sides of the hands. Like, I don't even think he's actually right. But it's just like, I mean,
why would it happen?
I don't even understand his point. He's like, you can't polish the edges. These things look pretty polished to me. I look at these hands and be like, I mean, does he want this thin little part here to be like polished? It doesn't look so bad. I mean, I don't know. I mean, all I know is that this is an impressive watch. Will I ever have the money to spend on something like this? No, and I don't need to. I can appreciate it for what it is. I don't get angry at stuff I can't afford. But I think that's really the issue, right? I think people see something which costs more than they think they're willing to pay, and they're like, why would you make something that I can't buy? And I get that. In fact, an article I want to write, I think we should do this, is essentially talking about, like, remember when, like, a Rolex wasn't really a luxury watch? Like, remember when you just, like, it was just like a nice tool watch? Like, don't get me wrong, it was never cheap, but you didn't need to be a millionaire to, like, buy a gold one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
Like, if you wanted one, it would be like, you'd have to step up the price a little bit more to go from steel to gold, but it was just like, it wasn't that big of a deal. It would be like it would be like today buying a really nice television.
A really, really, really nice television, yes, but still, yeah, I agree. I'm looking, hold on, I wrote this article back in 2014 about Rolex price increases and stuff like that, and I believe I had a chart about the price increases
Sweet
for
platinum.
for gold, and I think that was really steep.
I mean, we don't need to keep harping on this watch. I think this is a good find. Rolex doesn't promote stuff like this. Like, you're never going to see an ad with this watch, and I think you mentioned that this isn't even on their website, which I totally believe. There's a lot of these sort of more exclusive diamond set, precious stone set Rolex watches that you will never see online.
It's not that. Yeah, I searched for an image of this watch and I could not find a single image anywhere. Not with reference, not with describing it, not with anything. There is not one single image anywhere of this watch online.
And looking in the future, like, who knows what this will actually be worth, like 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now. But this is collectible, right? Like, Rolex understands how to make collectible items today that in the future will have value, right? Because they're not talked about, they're limited production, they're intentionally creating items which are under the radar, right? Like, I like that they're not doing that. I understand why they're not doing it, and I think that it helps them in the future. It's true that certain buyers might look at it and be like, there's no way this is real. I've never seen a picture of this. It's not even on their website. Like, I don't think this is real. And I understand that. Like, someone could look at this thing. Imagine if you just saw this, like, somewhere, you'd be like, oh, that's aftermarket. Like, you might not take the time to look at it. And so, in some senses, like, Rolex is preventing people from feeling confident that it's real. But at the same time,
which I think is kind of cool, actually.
That is kind of cool, and it's just cool that Rolex still does. Anyways, let's move on. This is the once again the Rolex Day-Date 40 green emerald in platinum. Cool timepiece. If you hate it, that's fine. We don't. But I think that was a cool find. Moving on to more polarizing stuff. What did Patek Philippe today introduced the 40th anniversary Nautilus? Actually, it's two watches.
Yes.
I think the one that's getting the most conversation is this chronograph version. About 50 millimeters wide and
that's
with diamonds.
Crazy. I think this year at Basel, everyone was expecting, Patek to release the, at least something to mark the 40th anniversary of the Nautilus, and absolutely nothing whatsoever happened at Basel, if I remember correctly, and I think I do.
No, they did not cave into the peer pressure.
Yes,
but if Basel was in China.
Yes, that's true. And now we see this here in Q3 of the year it was debuted, and it's a very polarizing piece. For one, for the reasons that you're pointing at right now on the dial, this math equation, so to speak, 1976.
Yeah. So again, like, it's trying to say 40th anniversary 1976 to 2016, but then they put it in the middle here, and it's just like it looks like, I get it, but it's so like a graphic designer that doesn't understand how people perceive numbers did this, you know what I mean? So I always think to myself, take it out of context, outside of watch media where people like us can explain this. If you just see this watch and you look at it, you're like, you just sit for a few seconds and think, how do these numbers work together?
I'm cracking up so much. It's crazy. What I want to do is Photoshop it to an actual equation, like 1976 plus 40.
It would be 2016 minus 1976 equals 40. I think we should just move it around a little bit. It should equal 40. Then people just say, that's correct. Thank you.
Yeah, that helps. And it's only $90,000.
So what do you think weighs more? The 40 millimeter wide solid platinum Rolex Day-Date 40 that we just talked about, or this 50 millimeter wide white gold Nautilus?
That's a very good question. I'm pretty sure that it's the Day-Date actually. Even though
I think we need to have our top scientists on this.
yes, work it out. Well, I can tell you that you can buy, let's see, about almost five of these things for the price of the Day-Date. So if you buy
That is
five,
true. That is true.
they
This is a
surely
limited
weigh
edition
more. Yes.
of 1,300 pieces. I mean, why not just go straight for 1,800 pieces? We know what market this is for. We know how much they like 8. 1,300 just seems like a really random. Is it just me or is it a random number?
Yeah, it's very random. I'm not sure how that.
Maybe
came
like 1,400 or 40. But I mean, clearly this is not designed to be like ultra limited. Like
Yes.
1,300 watches for a limited edition Patek. Like that means there's gonna be a lot of them out there.
It's kind of a lot, but it's not a lot enough, to it's just somewhere in between. I'm just not sure. It's a weird number, that's for sure.
I'm looking forward to putting it on my wrist because I actually think it's going to be a lot more wearable. Because what I've always liked about the Nautilus is the lugs are very stubby, and so it fits small wrists and big wrists pretty well, which it does a good job at. So
Right.
I think this would be wearable. I mean, I think I could pull this off.
Well, but it's 50. I mean, that's huge. It's really really
So
really
it's like
big.
this, okay. You know what? This is smaller than most G-Shocks.
I guess that's right. But still, I think it's way too big. At 50, for a Patek, people are going to freak out, especially the diehard fans of the brand for sure.
I know everyone is like, "Thank you, Patek, for continuing to make sensibly sized 37mm watches."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I can't wait to hear what they have to say.
Yeah. Well, everyone will say it should have been smaller, but I think let's say that there's a three-hand version coming as well, and that's gonna be smaller for sure. But this is just large for the sake of being large, and maybe just maybe they wanted to continue this jumbo heritage, that they started in 1976 when they debuted the Nautilus, the first Nautilus, and that was considered to be huge because it was like 42 or something like that. And back then in the 70s, that was considered to be a really big watch, and today a 42mm watch is actually a medium-sized watch. So today, for you to carry on and deserve, so to speak, this jumbo nickname, you have to produce something that's 50mm wide. But does it even make sense? Like, will we, have to see a 60mm Nautilus in 2016 or something like that?
I sure hope so.
Well, that's,
For the 50th anniversary.
yeah, 50th anniversary. But this is already 50mm. You see, so that's not gonna work.
I like I like how you're worried. Like, oh, this is wearable. Like, the thing is. It is. I agree with you 100%. This is a playful side of Patek. The fact that they've made a jumbo version of the jumbo is cool. That's cool. That's the coolest part of this watch is the size. If it wasn't for the size, I don't think anybody would pay attention to this at all.
Right, but there's nothing playful about 1,300 pieces. I mean, if they said they're making 5 and that's it, I would say, okay, that's cool.
No. If they make that few of amount and they charge a huge amount of money for it, they're being mean. Like, I actually think that the price, I mean, again, it's
not outrageous.
It's really not. With the diamonds and that much white gold, charging about $90,000.
For what will be considered to be an important limited edition, I think the price is actually quite conservative. If this happened, if this actually happened like 3 years ago, it would have been 6-figure price easily. Like, way
Oh, God, absolutely. I mean, Patek just, like many other brands, just went through a pretty significant price decrease, which I think is a good sign. It speaks well of them. The industry knows that pricing got out of control. And so I think we're going to see more of this. I think this is not the exception. This is becoming the new rule with pricing. And again, this is not cheap. We're still talking about a $90,000 watch. But I think everyone will agree that a few years ago, just like you said, this easily would have been a 6-figure timepiece.
Yes.
So again, this is the Patek Philippe Nautilus 40th anniversary 5976-1G, 49.25 millimeters wide and 18 karat white gold, blue dial. The text on the dial, not my favorite. Do you think that's going to stop people from buying this? Because it's not. Let's put it this way. The text on the dial is not very Patek Philippe.
Yeah, it's not at all. But actually, that kind of makes it cool, I guess, for some collectors, and also at the same time, it's relatively speaking, again, it's affordable because the prices for full gold Patek Philippe Nautilus chronographs are about mid 80,000s, and this is 90. So it's for a diamond dial and the limited edition. That's a very small premium to pay for something like this. So I think that's going to make this sell.
What people do need to know is that Patek is, I don't want to say notorious, but they are known to play favorite when it comes to who gets to buy their limited editions and their grand complications. So I'm wondering how difficult it will be to get a piece like this, what the availability is. I mean, it's kind of too easy to say that this is just for China. I mean, diamond hour markers tend to be the most popular, at least men's watches, in China and the Middle East. I think it's safe to say that most of these watches will go to Middle East, Russia, and Asia. Of course, there'll be a fair number that are sold in the U.S. I think that Europe is like the last market they were thinking of.
Yes, I think I agree completely. I mean, in Europe, you don't see people wear 50 millimeter wide or 40 something millimeter wide watches
especially not Patek wears.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I mean, you see large watches here and there, like larger Ariel Adams, for example, and stuff like that. But at 50, I mean, this is I think a little bit too much for European watch dates right now, as they are.
Well, okay. So that's the Patek Philippe 40th anniversary Nautilus. Interesting piece. I look forward to seeing this hands-on and putting it on your wrist and taking pictures and showing you that you too, David, can wear a 50 millimeter wide watch.
Can't wait.
Okay. Back to news. The FH numbers. We talked about this in an article a couple of days ago. Let's find that article. We talked about I was talking about gold, and how gold watches have really, really gone down. What do you think is happening to our poor little watch industry?
Well, I think it's a time for corrections. I think there's a lot of stuff that's gotten out of hand in terms of pricing and value and all that kind of stuff. Is really, really gone out the window, and there's.
We really publish a lot of content. Was this that long ago?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you're looking at it right now. Yeah. 123 comments, huh? There you go. A lot of people responded to it.
People have such passion for gold. So this is the actual report that came out of the FH. Let's look at this number right here, the 12-month moving average. And this is the decline in exports. This is, again, if you look at the percentages here, you went from already being down about 1% to being down at about, I think that's, what is that?
That's almost 10.
8.8%. I think that's this number right here.
Yeah.
For a total of 1.4 billion francs, just a tiny little sum like that.
Yeah.
And you see that's actually the percentage of change is more for other what is other products?
But it's
Swiss watch exports.
It's only 70.9 million. You see, so it's a tiny.
I know. It's a tiny amount of. Is that clocks? What is that? Pocket watches?
Pocket watches, I guess. Yeah.
I guess it's not clocks because it says watch.
No, but it says wristwatches and other products. So it's not wristwatches. So it has to be pocket watches and who knows what else.
I'm curious. I want to know answers.
Okay, let's reach out to FH and we'll find out soon enough.
So this is so people have to realize again. This is not all watches. Just Swiss watch exports that were recorded, and this is about $1.3 billion. Swiss francs. And again, this is, I believe, the wholesale price. This would not be retail, right? This would be wholesale?
Yes. Yeah, no way. This is retail. Yes.
Right. Did we think that the industry was bigger, or does this sound about right?
No, I mean, if you scroll down a little bit, I think you will see, almost, there you go. Hold on. So you see, but this is only monthly stuff, but, yeah, the changes can be... I saw somewhere like almost $1 billion. Like it went from 2.4 billion to something like 1.4 billion or something like that. Year over year in about 2 years or something. I can't recall the exact figures, but that's about right. I mean, 1.5 billion, 1.4 billion Swiss francs in exports. I think that sounds about right. Let me look up some annual figures here really quick. Yeah, but it's the funniest thing is that I actually mentioned in one of the articles is that the Swiss export, so actually the Swiss export about 2% of the watch production in the world. So they are responsible for 2%, less than 2% of all watches made in the world.
Really?
Yes, and they take over 50% of the I think. Hold on, let me check. but some preposterous amount in profits, like some crazy amount of profits, and they only make 2%. Hold on, let me. I will have
2%
to
of
look
the
it up.
watches.
Yes.
I guess that means China, Japan, other parts of Asia
Yes.
are probably producing the rest, and then you have, I guess you have a couple of watches coming out of Germany, a little bit of the UK, a tiny trickle from the US. These right here, this is main countries. Does that mean the countries that they were exported into? So these would be the top buyers?
Yes, absolutely, that's correct. But it's only a monthly monthly thing that you're looking at right there. So,
Monthly?
yes, yeah. Hold on.
Well, these still represent the top buyers.
Yes,
of
absolutely.
watches.
And yes.
I'm sorry to see that Hungary is not represented. Do you
Yeah,
think that might be number 7?
I think it's a close 7, yes. Very close 7, as always. You know, we always miss out on being featured in these charts for whatever reason.
Yeah, you're so close to being part of the big boys. So close. If only it went down one more place.
We are within the statistical error. Actually, I think if the Hungarian watch market just disappeared from 1 second to another, it would not be mentioned anywhere.
So here's my question. This is my question. Okay, so I look at these countries. Hong Kong is part of China, but it's a little different zone. So I kind of bulk Hong Kong and China together, even though there's other people who go to Hong Kong to buy watches. India, for example, goes to Hong Kong to buy watches a lot. Hong Kong, China, USA, United Kingdom, Germany, Japan. These are the main countries that exported. All of them are not down. So China and the UK are actually up. Up a lot. So China is up almost 30%, 29.1%, while Hong Kong is down almost the same. Does that mean that rather than go to Hong Kong, everyone is just staying in China and buying? I kind of feel that that's what that means.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when they introduced these new laws, these anti-corruption laws, and also the higher.
We also wrote about if anyone wants to go search for that.
Absolutely, and also the much higher import duties and fees and stuff like that too. When you're bringing nice watches and luxury items back to mainland China, I mean, it was inevitable that luxury buyers would just stay home and make at least some % of their purchases there.
What do these countries have in common? Is it just that they have money? Is there something about the culture? Because this really represents like the world's, pretty much the wealthiest places in the world. Like, is it just that simple? Where you have more money, you'll buy more watches? Or is it more complicated than that?
It's definitely more complicated, I would say. I mean, it's also a cultural thing, and we have seen a major culture shift, and also, of course, there were other reasons. But China, I think the Chinese luxury watch market just emerged from almost, well, not out of nowhere, but almost out of nowhere, especially when you compare to where it is today and where it was 2 years ago. And when you look back where it was 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago. I mean, if you look at charts and how the watch industry worked throughout the major, the economic crisis started in 07, 08. I mean, there was a little dip in the figures there in about 2008, and then figures went through the roof, and the watch industry was growing double-digit figures year over year, and that was not because Europe was buying watches or because US was buying watches, but because China started to buy watches like crazy. So yeah, these things change a lot, and it's not just a question of where the money is, but also how you use these watches and what what their purpose is. I mean, it could be for showing off, or also for corruption. I think big time. I mean, that was a large part of the deal that. Not everyone is talking about, but now that it's gone, we see a big drop in figures in China and Hong Kong.
I think it's it probably has something to do with just money, but you it's not just money, right? You need to have the disposable income to purchase these things, but you also need to have the education and the sophistication and the life experience to make use of these products. USA down 12% doesn't make. That makes a lot of sense to me, because I think actually watch purchases in the USA went up. I just think that it was through parallel streams, gray market, and things like that. So I think if you looked at total watch sales, if you were somehow able to record that, actually throughout all these countries. I think in the USA especially, you would not see this reduction. I think this is just a wholesale amount. So again, these numbers don't mean anything, but they are definitely interesting. Anything you want to say about this current report from August 2016 by the FH? Do you think what do you think will happen in the next report, which I guess happens every couple of months? How often do they release these? Do you know?
I mean, there's one for every month, and then of course the annual figures are also super important. In the meantime, I found what I brought, and I found this information about the Swiss watch industry profits. So actually, the Swiss may produce less than 2% of the world's watch production last year, and they produced 28 million watches, the Swiss. And globally, there were 1.2 billion watches produced, so that's less than 2%. And those with that less than 2%, they actually pocketed about 50% of the revenues generated. So the rest of the world had to export and had to manufacture and sell 1.172 billion watches to make roughly the same amount of money as the Swiss made by selling just 28 million. So those are some mind-bending figures, I think, right there. I think that's just crazy. It's understandable when you think about the prices and stuff like that, but it's still just some very interesting figures there. And
okay, well. Yeah. That's a little bit in sort of what's going on in the market. I would not look at this as a bad thing, and the reason I say that is this is a bad thing, but I don't see it as a bad thing because change is a coming. Changes are coming in distribution, changes are coming in prices, and we're happy about that. I mean, I and you have been writing about changes that we think the watch industry needs to make for years now. We have said things straight to their face. We have written articles. We have done videos. We have done our best to help the industry that we work as a part of to be more sustainable. I mean, we don't get anything to say, oh, prices are too expensive, distribution's wrong, it's too hard to buy watches, da-da-da-da. Like, we don't get any type of ego satisfaction out of saying these things. We say these things because we're like, hey, we see a problem, everyone. It's going to prevent people from buying as many watches as possible. And that's exactly what's been going on, is people have not been buying watches through the official channels because there's been other channels that have been more attractive or comfortable for consumers. So these numbers, they don't represent necessarily people buying less watches. I think what my sort of like final message is it represents how people are buying watches a little bit differently, and it reflects consumer choices. Because I think if you compared these numbers with actual numbers of watch sales, if you were somehow able to gather this number, you can't, you'd see two very different pictures. Let's go on to my pink G-Shock. Yeah. So I just got back from Japan. David, you have got to go to Tokyo.
I can't wait. You
gotta go to Tokyo, so you can see a couple of the Sheen watches. This is actually one of Casio's newest things. This is so Sheen. Oh, let's get back here. Sheen is a women's collection that they sell only there. They might have a couple here and there in other places, but I don't think I've ever seen them. And here's a Bluetooth one. It connects to your phone to update the time. Like, this is actually quite popular. Like, this is a smartwatch that makes sense in Japan. I don't know how that do well. How well that would do outside Japan. But what I really love is that the Japanese watch market, even though, as you saw on the other screen, buys a lot of Swiss watches, they still produce a lot of watches for their own market that still really only do well in their market. And I find that interesting. But I think the story, which is more important, is just like how well made some of these watches are, compared to some of these Swiss watches. The materials are, of course, different, but I really feel that Casio probably makes some of the most modern watches in the world, and pianos apparently, like the Calviano, the Grand Hybrid apparently. I swear they could have just replaced that with like a watch picture, and they would have to change this logo. Like, what's Grand Hybrid? That sounds great.
Exactly.
And along with Seiko and Citizen as well, they're doing great things. And only now Japan is starting to focus a little bit on expressing the fact that they make, such great stuff. Like, we went to their manufacturer in Yamagata, which is it's a region. The actual city is in I forget. They make this thing actually here. You see this thing next to the watch? This yellow item.
Yeah, what's that?
It's an underwater communication device, which apparently uses I think they call it what's it, bone conduction or something like that, where it just kind of touches the side of your face and you pretend to talk, but it thinks it knows what you're saying.
No way. That's like
military stuff use this, right? So divers can speak to each other underwater. This is stuff that's made at the Yamagata studio. But the Yamagata manufacturer is also where they have something called PPL, which stands for Premium Production Line. And at the PPL, they make the best Casio watches. And I have to say, all the care and effort that people associate with like Swiss watches and things like that, they go into play. They go into these watches, and I think the maximum price is like, okay, there are some high end ones like the $6,000 G-Shocks, the Hammer Tone. But for the most part, without having special limited editions, I'd say it's a maximum price of about $2,000. This website is not officially part of Casio GShock Premium, but it actually has the watches that are produced at PPL. So here you go. You can see a picture here. I was here a couple weeks ago. We haven't produced our article or published the article yet. It has been produced. And these are some of the watches. And these are produced in Japan. Super care. Actually, what you're looking at here, David, you probably can't see it, but this assembly line is actually shaped like the letter G.
Yeah, I see.
You see how it's curved like that?
Mm-hmm.
And this specific area, you will love this, because this half of this thing is actually designed to make sure that they align the hands perfectly properly.
Wow. Okay.
How many times have you seen like a quartz Swiss watch, $1,000 or $2,000 or more, that doesn't have the seconds hand lines up properly? How many times have you seen this?
Yeah, I've seen it way too often actually. It's so freaking annoying. I can't describe how annoying it is. I think
how annoying is it? Just because you said you can't describe it.
I cannot. It's so disappointing. I mean,
that's it.
Yes.
Does it make you cry like a single tear?
I stopped losing sleep over this a few months ago, so let's not get too much into this because
you lost sleep over it.
No, I'm just joking, but still, it's
sometimes I'm imagining your dreams like you're hearing a really loud ticking, and then you see kind of it goes from like kind of blurry to more sharp, and it's just a seconds hand that's just utterly not lining up. Like it stops smack dab between two markers. I think that's the way to torture you, David. Let's get a clock or a watch and mount it in front of your face, inches away from your face, where the seconds hand does not line up consistently every single time. You are tied up, and not only do you hear it ticking, but you see it just not aligning properly. How long would it take before this made you absolutely nuts?
About, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes.
10, that's it?
I wouldn't last like days or something like that. No, just 10, 15 minutes would be enough.
So let's look at the watches that they sell here. Again, this is not Casio's official website, but this site actually has a lot of these watches. So this is the MTG. This is not the top end. This is the second to top end G-Shock. Now this is an excellent watch. For just all intents and purposes, this is an excellent watch. It connects to GPS. Is this the GPS one? I feel so stupid. I want to make sure this is the GPS one. It just might not actually be the GPS one. Okay. One very similar to like this. Oh yeah, this is the multi-band one. Okay, there's one I'm just gonna go straight to the GPS one. Anyways, one a lot like this, like the MRG.
Yeah, the MRG. Yes.
Come on, MRG. There we go. See, it says GPS in there, so I never forget. But see how similar the dials are. Okay, that's a little bit more money. Okay, GPS. Just like insanely tough. I mean, the real challenge here when they first started the MRG collection, it was kind of funny. It was like, so G-Shock was great, but it was plastic, and they were like, oh, but so many people not wearing this watch because it should be metal, and they don't want to wear with a suit. So their entire mission was make a G-Shock in metal, and they finally came out with it in the 90s. I think it was like 93 or something like that. And then you have this today. So this is like literally, I guess what you could call the most durable sporty dress watch. Who wears this watch? I actually saw someone that wears this watch in LA, but who wears this watch in your opinion?
Well, frankly, I don't see these around at all. That's the problem. I don't see these often enough. I want to see these more often. But I think these were not available, these MRG models, for long. I think they just hit the market very recently. So I guess that's the reason why. I couldn't link this to someone right now from the top of my head, but I guess it's an LA thing, right? It could totally work for in LA.
Yes. The guy, so the person I saw wearing one of these a couple days ago actually was the proprietor of a new chic boba drink store. You know how much I like boba.
Yes.
I'm a boba file.
Yes. I know.
And I thought it was really cool. Younger guy, I think probably Korean, hip looking. This is on Fairfax. Wearing one of these, looking cool, and I thought, you know what, that's exactly who the market is. Like an early 30s business owner, definitely not conservative. Sporting one of these things, like cheaper than a high-end Rolex, definitely more expensive than your average Japanese watch. But if you know the time and effort that goes into making these, like, you got to be sold. But again, Casio just doesn't have that name recognition of like Rolex or Patek Philippe or anything like that. What do you think it would take for Casio to have that type of name recognition? Is that even possible?
I think it's possible, but you have to be very clear about which audience you're actually looking for. I think I think it's opening up right now, and there's huge potential for these things, because the younger generation, I mean mid-20s to mid-30s right now, they don't care that much about tradition and all that kind of stuff. They care about actual value and performance, and in those regards, and of course quality of execution. And in those regards and in those categories, I think these watches just hit it out of the ballpark. I think it's really some excellent watches. To consider, if you have this much money to burn on something that actually blends functionality with I guess style as well, and reliability. I think these are up there. But Casio has to really try hard and communicate this to this target audience, and I think that can happen, and I see that happening already.
I think that's a good way of looking at it. I mean, again, it's an uphill battle, and I think part of the problem is that with traditional like Swiss luxury watches, it was never about value. It was never about functionality. It was always about style and actually excessiveness, right? Like, to wear a gold watch with diamonds is by nature excessive.
But in one way or another, excuse me, but if I look at this watch, for example, I think in one way or another, it's an excessive watch. And if anything, what I was going to say is that Swiss watches in general are not excessive. Most Rolex watches, they don't have diamonds and they are not in gold. So I think maybe some of these G-Shocks, even these MRG models that are so high tech and so well made, they could use a little bit more restraint.
Well, I want to find the Manaslu. These are this is a really
that's a little bit better, yeah.
This is a Pro Trek. It's not a G-Shock.
Yeah, I know, but still, I think they have to be like just a little bit more restrained in terms of.
Here's your favorite collection. This is Casio's dressiest high-end collection, and I have to say, they are very, very cool. But there is a problem with these when it comes to the Western market.
Describe that problem to us, Ariel, please.
Well, look, anus collection, and it has the word anus in it. Let's just be honest. It's a cool collection. The best one, again, this site is not official Casio. I'm just trying to see if they have the newest one here that has GPS. It's beautiful. It's remarkably well made. It's so in Japan, the best made domestic market watches in terms of like attention to detail are Grand Seiko, right? They're the top end, most expensive, and Seiko, beats in terms of price and I think finishing and prestige Casio and Citizen. But Casio holds their own in offering. Wow, this site is really bad. Casio holds their own. Let's just go to the Oceanus website. In terms of the I don't want to just say the look, but how the watches feel on your wrist, the design. Like, here we go. Here's their top end one with that. This has that same movement that you saw in that MRG. It's actually about $1,000 less. But these are some of the limited edition ones. Like this one, for example. Like this is a genuinely cool timepiece if it ever loads. There it is. Like, this is that's another GPS one, slightly different. good looking watch, super legible. Those seconds hand line up so well, I gotta say, just so well. You know, but they haven't been able to do so well out of the Japanese market, and I think it's getting into that sort of sophisticated watch area that is so strongly held by the Swiss, right? Because it's like at that point when you wear a watch like this, it's almost too practical. Like it's so good, it's too practical. It adds too much value in it. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I don't think there's such a thing as too much value. Not even in luxury products or high end products. I think it's fine. But if you look at what Seiko is doing with Grand Seiko, I think that's the way of showing it to the Swiss and also to the world that they can produce super high end, amazing quality watches. I think and Casio does not quite have that. I mean, we're not looking at those watches, but once you start looking at $2,000-$3,000, you can pick up a super nice Seiko for that amount of money. That's going to be more restrained and a little bit more comparable to Swiss watches and luxury watches in general.
I think Oceanus could stand from a whole rebranding in terms of the quality and the functionality and what they're trying to be. I think it's spot on. But do you think that a rebranding might be interesting?
Yeah, I think that would be a cool idea. Yeah, to execute. I think it could help propel this, a little bit forward, and yeah, it could.
They just change it to Ocean USA.
Yeah.
It's now Ocean USA. We just added one extra letter. Oceanusa.
Oh my god, I don't think that's the right approach.
No, okay, they're clearly not going to hire us for that.
Yeah.
Elegance and technology. Again, I think that's what they're trying to do, but it's like it's an acquired taste, but if you have that taste, you're going to be very happy. Or you could just live in Japan and you'll be fine.
Well said. Yes.
I really can't wait till we publish the article on this because having gone to let's look at the cash registers. Ooh, I think I need a nice Casio cash register. I think something like 80 to 85% of the products that Casio makes are watches. So they do make these other items like these point of sale touch machines. But again, I think it was like 84% or something like that are timepieces. And I just think that's interesting because, most of these companies like Seiko, for example, Seiko Epson, like printers and other electronics, Casio, they have they make phones and the digital cameras and things like that. But I think it's just interesting to appreciate that still watches represent such a bulk of what they do, as well as the grand hybrid piano. I'd like a grand hybrid. There it is. The Calviano. I actually am curious now what grand hybrid means.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, I am not a piano player or a keyboardist of any kind. It's probably super obvious to someone that is. The track former. I think they just need to have all these names and just make watches out of them. They don't even have to change the title. Digital dance music gear. Sure, why not? Make it a watch.
Yes. Yeah, that's cool.
Track former. You're really gonna love Japan, David. You're really gonna love it.
I cannot wait to go.
We've got SAHH is coming up soon, isn't it?
Yep, but we have some other places to go first. Dubai Watch Week is happening. Mid-November. But yeah,
the reason I mentioned that's when we're gonna see the bulk of new watches, and the reason I mentioned is the last couple years. We didn't see that much new stuff at SIHH. And you know what? I blame the fact that when I first started going to SIHH, it was during the crazy years, kind of like post-recession when these products were already in line to be made, so they had to release them and things. And they thought that they weren't really sure how poorly the recession was going to affect things. So they're still coming out with a lot of products. And then the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, it was like an awful lot less product. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And I've just been waiting. I'm like, is this the year there's going to be new watches? Is this the year? Is it this year?
Yes. It happened this year. I mean, in 2016. It happened in 2015. We were really looking forward to something cool. And most of the brands were just really minor updates. I mean, a few cool watches here and there, but nothing comparable to what we were seeing a few years ago.
Do you want to go glamping with Baby G?
No.
Do you know what glamping
Yeah.
is? I had to find out the hard way. These
Okay, so
girls in this picture, they are glamping, which
what is that?
it stands for glamorous camping.
Okay.
Yes.
Sounds
And
like
these
a very,
these are the glamping watches.
Okay.
Only I like that they would actually buy. So I bought one of these for my wife, not this color, the blue one. It's actually
Yeah,
not
well,
bad
it's
for a
kinda
Baby
cool.
G, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got little waves on the dial.
That's cool.
And look, they're glamping. Because when you go glamping, you need to put up Christmas lights, a kind of like a gypsy tent, and some electric candles in the sand.
Okay.
I actually when
so
we get
glamorous.
off this call and finish the show, I'm gonna check out Baby G's. God, I want to see. Okay, I'm gonna watch it. I wanna see glamping.
Okay. What's
I love
the
it. There's no
instructions,
actual
please?
video. It's just a montage. Come on, there they are,
Okay,
glamping.
okay.
Oh, they're having such a good time.
Sand in your
They,
food.
they allowed like a guy there. I'm still
Let's
waiting
drink some
for like
water.
one actual one Japanese girl. And they're running. There it is, glamping. I knew it.
Kind of cool. Okay. Okay. What's the diameter of these watches?
Can't they show the watch in the water?
Yeah.
I love how sexy these names are. Like they're trying to be all cool with glamping and lifestyle, yet they can't seem to have like a cutesy name for the watch. They just have to have a bunch of letters and numbers. Look at her glamping. No, she's not glamping anymore.
Okay, behind the fence or something. BA110.
This is millennial watch marketing, folks. we love trespassing at the marina.
Okay, we're losing it. I think right here.
Okay, that's glamping for you. No, I can't. This actually opens up another conversation that I want to think about, and there's what I call a lost generation, right? So kids that grew up around the turn of the 21st century until now. Many people say like they don't even know what watches are. They have no desire to have a watch, and part of the problem is watches need to be relevant to them, right? Like, especially when it comes to Casio, people like me and you and so, many others, they grew up with Casio, right? Because they grew up, being young, not having a mobile phone, and Casio was cool and cheap, and a lot of people had Casio. And so today as adults, they're still into Casio, and that's where these high-end things. There's my pink range man. When I was in Japan, I picked up a pink range man. Just there it is. So cool. Anyway, so the people that grew up Casio, they're buying $2,000 or more Casio timepieces, right? That's who's buying those high-end watches like the MRG and the MTG. But what about people now? What about the kids growing up now that aren't getting watches? How are they going to grow up watch? How are they going to grow up Casio? And Casio understands that. They're super cognizant of that fact, and this is kind of what they're doing. And I appreciate it. It's, trust me, a lot better than what some of the competitors are doing. But where can they take this? What can they do to make watches relevant for kids and teenagers? I'm not even talking about 20-somethings. I'm talking about kids and teenagers, so that by the time they're in their 20s, they're into it. Is there really not much we can do until smartwatches become more mainstream? Is that all we have to wait for, or do you think that there's something else?
I think watches have to be a relevant part of pop culture. Kids have to see their idols and pop stars and whoever else wear them a lot, and it has to be around. And they are just not. I think some other brands, phone manufacturers and stuff like that, are pushing much harder. So I think Michael Kors actually, and the brands like Michael Kors did really well the last few years. I mean, they sort of took it back a little bit, and girls were and actually young people were really picking up on those. But the major brands like Casio and Seiko and these, I think they are sort of lagging a little bit behind these fashion brands, I think. So
what are the fashion brands doing right? Because here's the thing, like I didn't grow up wearing Casio because any of my heroes wore one. Like I didn't, like that wasn't the case for me. So I agree that creates awareness, but if there isn't awareness plus relevancy. I don't know that you have the complete sort of like formula.
Yeah, but what is relevant? I mean, most of the time it's more of a status symbol and just a fashion accessory rather than a status symbol. It's more of a fashion accessory, and what you just clicked on is not a fashion accessory at all. I mean, for hipsters and nerds, yes, but for anyone else, no.
Oh my god, I kind of want that.
Yeah.
Is that not exciting to you?
Yeah, I mean that's cool, but we like it. You know, we're in the 0.001% who like it. You know, for why we like
I'm
it.
looking so for everyone who's not seeing the video, I'm looking at a apparently relatively new Casio calculator watch that I had no idea was made. What do we think this costs?
Let's find out. I have no idea. I honestly have absolutely no idea.
Going to eBay. Let's see. I'm guessing like $50. Oh, 13. Oh, that's okay. $54. Buy it now. $58.
Okay. That's cool.
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
I think what everyone needs to do is go buy a $50 Casio calculator watch. Actually, buy a bunch of them. Buy them in bulk. Buy like 50 to 100 of them. And then when you see a child or a teenager that isn't wearing a watch, or maybe they are, it doesn't matter, creepily go up to them, don't ask them anything, and just strap it on their wrist and say, the time is accurate, and then just walk away. You think that would work?
No, I think that's
what do you think? What do you think you should say other than the time is accurate? Maybe that's the wrong approach.
No, I think no. I'm not even sure. I mean, this is so random. I'm not sure, but the overall approach is correct in the sense that yes, more people have to wear these things around.
So you're saying that we should not advise people to randomly go up and touch children, their wrist or otherwise.
We should strongly advise.
Okay, do not try this at home. But if there's a child you know and may have some existing familiarity with and report, please by all means strap a calculator watch to the wrist. Such as the Casio DBC-32-1A. Excellent choice. 10-year battery, too. Look at that. 10-year. I like how it actually says 10-year battery. So even if there's 1 year left in the battery, you remember that 9 years ago, you have no idea what you were doing when you bought this watch. Okay, so that is this latest episode of HourTime Experiments. We hope you enjoy. Please leave some feedback and comments and answers and complaints, as we know you love to do in the comments. And we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
See you next time. Bye.